Good morning. Well, if you're like me and you follow Texas sports closely, this has been a brutal, brutal weekend. It began with the Texas Longhorns on Saturday playing Oklahoma in a huge game. Texas rated number 3 in the country, and if they had beaten Oklahoma, would have real legitimate chances to be a national title winner this year. But alas, they lost again to Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry, this time right at the end of the game with only a minute left, allowing Oklahoma to go down the field and score a touchdown. A devastating defeat. Later in the day, Texas A&M played Alabama, the nemesis that they just have not been able to beat for years and years. Perhaps this year, if they beat them, it would legitimize the program. But alas, they lost again. And then yesterday, the Cowboys just got shellacked by the San Francisco 49ers, 42-10, a team that had been talking about having Super Bowl aspirations and obviously didn't even belong on the same field with the 49ers. So this morning, all of those teams are coming to practice, trying to figure out who they are. In fact, last night, CeeDee Lamb, the star receiver of the Dallas Cowboys, was asked a question. Can you tell me what the identity of the Cowboys offense is right now? He hung his head and said, I don't know. Just despair. Now, for those of us who are fans of sports, those games don't mean anything. I mean, perhaps we'll go to work today or see our friends and we'll get good natured or not so good natured razzing from our opponents, but life will go on and nothing changes. But for those who are going through the adversity, whose careers are on the line, whose salaries, whose families are all affected by this, today's a devastating day and they have to decide, who are we? What are we going to become? The Bible talks a lot about adversity. We get lots of pictures of people who went through adversity. Joseph, who was put into prison falsely, who was sold into slavery by his brothers, who had a variety of terrible things happen to him. Job, who had everything stolen away from him, all but his own very life. We see Paul, who was beaten and shipwrecked and imprisoned and tortured many, many, many times. The Bible gives us lots of examples of people who go through adversity. But then it gives us some ideas about what we need to do when adversity faces us. Because for most of us, it isn't about winning or losing a ball game. It's about coming back from a difficult surgery, facing the reality of a terminal illness, losing a loved one, facing the reality of depression, anxiety, and trying to figure out how to come out of it. Well, the Bible speaks to that. The first thing it tells us is we have to persevere. When we look at James chapter 1, verses 2 to 4, the writer says this, Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. In Romans, Paul says this in Romans 5, we glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope doesn't put us to shame because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. Isn't it interesting that all of these writers say the reason we get suffering is to teach us how to persevere, to teach us how to get up, dust ourselves off, take stock of where we are, and move forward in a positive way. And when we do that, we develop character. And when we develop character, we develop hope, and hope keeps us going. The second thing beyond perseverance is that we need to develop perspective. 2 Corinthians 4, Paul says, we don't lose heart. Though our outer self is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day. For this light, momentary affliction is preparing us for an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison as we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. We need to have perspective that whatever is going on today, whether it's a ball game, whether it's an illness, whether it's financial reversal, the loss of a job, that's all temporary. Oh, it feels bad in the time, and it may be a long temporary thing, but it's temporary because it's only on this earth. We look to what's ahead. We look to what's above. We look to what's eternal. That's the perspective of what's important. But last of all, we need to approach these things understanding that God gives us peace. In John 16:33, Jesus said this, "These things I've spoken to you, that in me you might have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." Yeah, it's a tough day in the sports world today for the Texas teams. It may be a tough day for you for things that are much more immediately pressing in your life. But if we remember, God gives us the capacity to persevere and to develop the character that will carry us through and will mature us. He gives us the ability to take the perspective that this is only temporary, and He gives us His Spirit, who gives us peace throughout this. Then we too will be able to overcome. Now I'm going to get off of here and go take my beating from the 49ers and Eagles fans this week. But next week's another week, and I'm going to persevere in my belief in the Cowboys and in the Longhorns. Have a great week.